Hello, welcome back here into Kitten's Weather Center. Today is August 28, 2025, and in this video, we're going to continue to pay attention to the flash flooding threat that is continuing on in the central part of the United States as well as the southwestern part of the United States here due to post-tropical cyclone off the eastern Pacific that is impacting parts of California and maybe even heading into Nevada as well right now, but also a flash flooding potential threat right now continuing on in the central part of the United States that does include Arkansas, Mississippi, and even Alabama, as well as that severe weather risk that does include Arkansas. We're going to pay attention to that later. We're also going to be paying attention to the tropics, the Atlantic right now. Could it start to ramp up? All of the latest coming up in this video. So let's hop into it right now. What are we looking at here around the United States? Well, we can clearly see a lot of heavy rainfall continuing on in the central part of the United States here. We could clearly see that. We have a flash flood warning as of the recording of this video here that does include Little Rock right down there, and a tornado warning down here over here in Florida as of the recording of this video. That's by the National Weather Service of Jacksonville. Some scattered showers, thunderstorms continuing on the east coast here of Florida, but our main focus obviously is going to be this general area because that's also where our severe weather risk is continuing on today. Now we take a look here at Southern California. That is from post-tropical cyclone that is continuing to move kind of more on the northern side of its system here. That's kind of pushing a lot of rainfall kind of heading into the Southern California, so San Diego and maybe even Las Vegas could be getting some of that rainfall here for the next couple of days. So taking a look here at the Eastern Pacific, well, we have two other areas of interest to kind of pay attention to. One is going to be right here, pretty elongated tropical wave right there. But we also have another one that's kind of back here. These are eventually going to move off to the west here, the kind of the northwest. But right now we're seeing obviously that post-tropical system that's pushing all that moisture right there into Southern California. So that's going to bring some of that heaviest amount of rainfall. But really the Eastern Pacific starting to have a little bit more of a ramp up as we go on so far right now. Now we don't have a low pressure off this system yet, but we do on this red one. And that one is going to be impacting, no one right now at this time, but, let's pay attention to farther down the road here with the Hawaiian Islands, but no too far out to even be paying attention to. But we know that the National Hurricane Center is putting it at an 80% chance here in the next 7 days. While this one's only at a 50% chance here in the next 7 days, we're going to be seeing that one kind of go more off to the north, while this one's kind of going more to the west. Something to pay attention to. And now we take a look at Invest 93E. Some models now starting to kind of pick up on it here as it was just designated not too long ago. But we kind of can see the GFS model really kind of, pretty close with that orange model there, but obviously very consistent on that westward track is expected there. Now, taking a look at the Atlantic side, the Atlantic very quiet compared to the Eastern Pacific right now. We have one area of interest over here off the coast of Africa due to this tropical wave specifically right there. That's going to be emerging its way off of Africa. We're going to be seeing that. This one, nothing to pay attention to, but also we do have a trough kind of coming down, so we have a cold front that could possibly bring some systems possibly here into the Florida Peninsula, as we've already been seeing some spaghetti models bringing up that and some ensemble models, so we'll talk about that here slightly. There's Ferdinand. We continue to move off to the northeast, post-tropical there, not expected to, it's not even marked by the National Hurricane Center anymore, so no more updates on that. Taking a look here, 20% chance here for this development right here. You can clearly see the X is not there yet. The X is going to be right here. That's going to be moving off to kind of just south of the Cabo Verde Islands. That's going to be moving off to the northwest here. Now, we do have some big questions on the table, as we do have some models kind of bringing it more of a westward motion and then some kind of getting pulled off to the north. We'll go a little bit more in depth with that system here in a little bit, but this will have somewhat favorable environment as we go farther down the road right now. Now, the GFS model, taking a look at that, we can see right here, September 2nd, we're seeing a low pressure system forming, 1,015 millibars. This will eventually make its way up to the north here, according to this GFS model run. We're going to see that kind of get pulled to the north, kind of a relatively weak storm still continuing on to move to the north here. And then we'll kind of get hooked to the west a little bit before getting pulled to the north. So GFS, a little bit of an interesting run there. So kind of sits in this little pocket area right now that could have that possibility for some stronger development, as those are pretty favorable conditions. And then we'll find a break through that high pressure and kind of move off to the north here. Kind of through this run, we'll find that break through the high pressure and we'll start making that turn to the north. But you can clearly see 384 hours out, still very far out to be even forecasting, especially a 964 millibar hurricane. Bermuda, you guys don't have anything to worry about right now, but you can see that the high pressure is not going to be very, very strong here according to the GFS as we head farther out, and that's September 13th. So that would head up to the north and eventually make its way there, and not much else going on over here. Now, I do want to bring up here with the GFS model in the Gulf here. If we take a look here, kind of with that cold front that's kind of coming down, we kind of can see here September 2nd, there's a low pressure that kind of forms right off the coast of Louisiana, and that will eventually make its way over here into the Florida Peninsula, and that's something that we're continuing to watch. It does seem like this model run kind of keeps it a lot more closer to land. So definitely, regardless of the development chances here of this, we could be seeing a lot of that rainfall kind of happen in the southeast area here. That does include Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, as well as the Florida Peninsula as well. So we're going to kind of pay attention to that very closely, as that could possibly race across the state. So very big questions. Obviously, National Hurricane Center does not have that marked. But we take a look here at the European model. European model with that tropical wave that comes off Africa, we could clearly see not as strong of a wave there. But you kind of can see maybe later on in the future, we could be seeing something right there get pulled up to the north as well, very far north. But kind of take a look at the Euro, kind of having a little bit more of a different kind of scenario here, where the high pressure is a little bit more off to the west here and not off to the east on kind of where the GFS is. And that will kind of give any storm kind of that possibility of getting pulled to the north. Now, if we head over here back to the Western Atlantic, and we're kind of taking a look at that, the European model does bring up, oh, there we go, does possibly bring up the potential for, you know, a system kind of forming here in the Gulf, or, you know, somewhat maybe a tropical depression. 1,012 millibars. So right now I would say, you know, we obviously know that there's some pretty favorable conditions here off the coast of Florida, and really just off the, you know, west coast here of, Florida, and, you know, the northern Gulf Coast as well. We know that there's very favorable conditions in that area. Now, obviously, depending on how close it is to land, could possibly bring some impacts, but then you kind of can see what that low pressure kind of makes its way into western Florida and eventually makes its way over here to the east. And that's something that we're continuing to pay attention to there. So rainfall totals could ramp up at some areas. Now, taking a look here at the GFS ensembles from the latest GFS ensemble run, we can clearly see, if we go back, we see maybe a possible low pressure system kind of forming off over here by the Carolinas, moves off to the northeast here as a tropical storm. But then watch this area right here. That will be our next area that we want to pay attention to closely, because that is something that we're continuing to watch. You can see some of those models starting to pick up here in the Gulf, just off the coast of Florida. We could see some of those models kind of get pulled up into the coast here, into the west coast of Florida, and that's going to bring some of that heavy rainfall, of course. Now, no major storms expected. Maybe a small tropical depression could form, but we're starting to get some more, you know, relatively some more models kind of agreeing to that, more ensembles, and that will make its way off to the northeast as well. And then as well, also paying attention to that tropical wave, we kind of can see that. Now, we have some kind of go up to the more of the north here by the Cape Verde Islands, and we have some that go off to the south, so a little bit different scenarios could possibly be in play with that, but majority of them do eventually kind of make this turn here up to the north, but some still keep it down here to the west. So big questions are still on the table, obviously, when it comes down to these tropical systems and these tropical waves that do emerge off of Africa. Now, taking a look at the Euro ensembles, we can clearly see still, once again, that coast, the west coast of Florida here is definitely something right there. A very, very weak system right there that could form, but there's still ensembles that are bringing it up and bringing it to the northeast here. But you can also see not a lot going on at this area right here. Kind of, you know, some models still in the gray, but you have some that kind of reach the red, but I would not be too considerate on those ones. And we know that the 12Z, I believe, the 12Z has now just updated here as of the recording of this video, so perfect timing. But, you know, some are bringing it more off to the west here, but we really want to pay attention to all that gray, because no matter what, even if the storm doesn't form, potential for heavy rainfall still could be a big impact there. Now, taking a look here at the 12Z for the Euro and, you know, probabilities here, we can clearly see, or I guess it's going to be the 00Z, but you can see as of earlier this morning's model run, really chances start getting up for a tropical depression here off the west coast here of Florida, as once again we've seen some models kind of bringing it right through. We could see that kind of ramp up here, and eventually will kind of make its way off to the east. Now, taking a look at farther down the road, we start seeing stuff maybe over near the islands, so that could be bringing something possible also down the road. Now, let's take a look at this, you know, the Storm Prediction Center, the severe weather threat side here of this. So we can see a marginal risk kind of continuing on in the Midwest. We're going to continue to watch that. Slight area, this does include Oklahoma, parts of most southwestern Arkansas, and northeastern Texas. The biggest threat for today is not going to be mostly the tornado threat, but it's mostly going to be that wind threat here, with a 15% yellow chance here for that slight risk area. So that does include Shreveport, Longview, Texas, Bossier City, Louisiana, Texarkana, Texas, and you guys need to be paying attention to that very, very closely there. Now, let's take a look. Let's go, you know, area by area right now. Let's kind of go out. So HRRR model, we can clearly see over the next couple of hours some, you know, scattered rain showers kind of continuing on in eastern Washington and Montana. You guys are going to be seeing that, and then, you know, maybe some scattered thunderstorms here over here by Wyoming and Colorado as well. We're going to pay attention to those as they continue on. Those will kind of, you know, just, you know, not be too much as we head into the overnight hours. And, you know, heading into tomorrow, a little spin right there just off of Canada, but not too much is going to be happening with that as we're going to be seeing some more rainfall over here for the next couple of hours. But after that, should start to clear up a little bit. Now, taking a look at this, we can clearly see some rainfall is expected to continue on here, possibly heading into Nevada and maybe even the southern part of California over here for the next couple of hours. We're going to kind of see that continue on. And then you can see majority of that rainfall that is coming from that post-tropical cyclone is eventually making its way up to the northeast. So that does impact parts of southern Utah as well as parts of even Colorado. We could be seeing some of that heaviest amounts of rainfall kind of heading in. And you definitely could possibly be seeing some flash flooding issues right there in that general area from that specific storm. So taking a look at the HRRR model now, what are we looking at here with kind of just this area, the Ohio Valley area? Very clear. We have some rainfall continuing on in the Ohio area. We're kind of seeing that kind of pushing off to the east there. We'll start to clear up a little bit in that area as we head into tomorrow morning, but then we see some rain showers kind of continuing on over here on the western side. So it does include South Dakota, even heading into Nebraska, maybe even some Kansas. That will eventually make its way over here to the east, bringing some scattered showers, thunderstorms into South Dakota as well as parts of Nebraska. We could be seeing some scattered showers and thunderstorms in that general area right there. Now heading down over here more into the south, this is in, we have Texas, we got Arkansas really. So over the next couple of hours, Arkansas expected to keep getting some of that heaviest amounts of rain there. Scattered showers, thunderstorms expected to happen obviously in that slight weather risk zone right there. But right now our main concern is just going to be that flash flooding potential that is continuing on in the central part of Arkansas right there, as we've already been seeing a couple inches of rain falling every hour right now at this time, as this rainfall is not moving very quickly. So this is 10 p.m. tonight. We can still see that the rainfall kind of continues to move down to the southeast, not impacting parts of Arkansas, but you can still see some of those areas that are already dealing with flash flooding are expected to continue to get some rainfall for the rest of the day here. And then possibly, your severe weather threat will really start to ramp up as we head into the overnight hours. We can see in northern part of Louisiana, those are some big thunderstorms that could form as we head into later tomorrow, as well as we're going to kind of see maybe another line heading into tomorrow. We're going to see that heading into the Texas Panhandle region right there. Now heading up to the northeast, let's take a look at what we're kind of looking at. We can see some rainfall mostly in Canada, now expected to go into New York and stretching all the way down here into Pennsylvania. We can see some very strong storms kind of continuing on just off the coast here of the Carolinas right there. So that's not going to impact anyone. That's kind of, part of that front. That's kind of that low pressure system right there that we could see. That's going to make its way off to the northeast here. So maybe some, rip currents could be a big thing as we stretch up from the coast here, but really some scattered rain showers and thunderstorms expected maybe even early tomorrow morning as well. Now taking a look here at the southeast, obviously we just talked about all that rainfall. We could see maybe heading into later this evening, east coast of Florida could be getting some pretty big thunderstorms here. Those sea breeze thunderstorms will start to ramp up a little bit. We can obviously see those thunderstorms, the biggest of staying off the coast here of the Carolinas, very far out there. And then we'll start to clear up here in Florida. Won't be too much. But then as we head into tomorrow evening, we're going to start seeing once again those sea breeze thunderstorms really start to kind of ramp up a little bit more as well. So now with the rainfall potential here in the next 7 days, we're obviously expecting several areas to kind of just be, all over the place. Northwest, you guys aren't going to be getting too much. You go to the Midwest, maybe 1.3 inches in parts of South Dakota, but you really head down over here to the southeast here. This is kind of where we're seeing a lot of that rainfall right there. 4.7 inches of rain here in certain areas of Louisiana we could see, and then Florida, 6 inches of rain almost here in the Miami-Dade area. That is something that we could be paying attention to really, closely, because that could bring some flash flooding over here to the eastern coast here of Florida. But taking a look at the satellite picture, obviously, of the United States, we can see there's our big rainfall threat that we're kind of seeing, but other than that, we're not seeing too much, and there's the post-tropical cyclone on the west coast here of the United States. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys all did enjoy the rest of this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy this weather content and more frequent updates. Make sure to follow my X page down in the description as well, and I post frequent updates on there as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, and bye-bye.